Bijan Nirumand asks, just one question. Where the hell have you been before, and who pays you for this BS? To be honest with you, you've had 1,000 episodes too many. Who pays me for this? You, bitch! Thanks for watching. Colin Algarin asks, with the influx of technologies and machines taking over much of the labor job market, some say eventually a majority of all markets, how long do you think it will be until the idea of a universal basic income and its theoretical benefits enters the political conversation? It might not. I mean, actually, that's not fair. To a certain extent, it has in Europe. In the U.S., it's hard to imagine that happening. Maybe it does, but it's just hard to imagine it in today's context. Because Stephen Hawking has spoken about this. He said, understand something, guys. We're at a place where it's a crossroads. So we have massive income inequality, and the captains of industry can now, they have the resources to have these machines, these robots, this technology to take over the labor market. If they do that and we don't set up a system, a governmental system where you, yes, redistribute wealth, where, for example, a robot, a machine, the technology, a certain amount of it is assigned to you, and then you reap the benefits of the economic output that they do. If we don't do that, it can get dangerous, and we could be at a time where, there can be violence and there can be political instability, the likes we haven't seen in a long time, if ever. So, and again, this is Stephen Hawking saying it, not me. I'm an idiot. He's a genius. He's saying, we have this technology. Eventually, it will take over the marketplace, and you won't need people to do the work anymore. That could either lead us to a pseudo, semi-utopian state, or it could lead us to the most disastrous state imaginable, where people are just expendable and useless and swept aside, and they don't get any, money or material well-being, and then that's the instability, and that could be the potential violence. Or you can use this for everybody's benefit, and if you redistribute wealth properly and give everybody a leisurely lifestyle and a decent quality of living, then we don't even have to work, and we have a good quality of life. So that's the place we're at. I don't know which direction we'll go, but all the evidence right now points to we're leaning in the wrong direction because of the massive income inequality we already have, and the fact that the elites are very stubborn, and they seem to not get it, that if you don't do this redistribution of wealth, in the long run, it's going to hurt you too. All right, Samuel Shave asks, you recently mentioned that the majority of people said they felt the United States was the biggest threat to the world's security. Do you agree? If yes, then what are the main factors? And if not, who would you say is the biggest threat? Okay, so this is a really interesting question, and the answer is actually very complex. So understand that the way the poll asked the question is they said the word nation. Which nation is the biggest threat to world peace? They didn't say which group. They didn't phrase it in a way where things other than nations were in the conversation. So when you phrase it like that, then it kind of becomes an empirical question. The question is, empirically, if you look at the numbers, which nation has been more involved in more wars all around the world, done more invasions, done more interventions, and which subsequently has led to less stability, and people view it as the biggest threat? So the answer is, it's an objective question and an empirical answer. And the answer is yeah. Whether or not we like it, as Americans, I certainly don't like it. But in modern times, as a nation, we've led more to instability, and we are the biggest threat to world peace. So just to give you guys some background on this, since World War II, we've intervened in China, Korea, Guatemala, Indonesia, Cuba, the Congo, Dominican Republic, Peru, Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, Lebanon, Grenada, Libya, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Iran, Libya, again, Iraq, Kuwait, Somalia, Bosnia, Sudan, Afghanistan, Yugoslavia, Serbia, Pakistan, Yemen, Syria. So that no other nation is anywhere near that. During the period of the Cold War, we overthrew South American democracies and put in fascist dictators, as we said we're making the country more democratic. Ridiculous. Right now, we're involved in 7 different interventions. Some places it's just airstrikes, some places just drone strikes, some places special ops forces on the ground. There's a reason why people say we can either dismiss everything that everybody says on this, or we can try to see why they're saying what they're saying. I think the reason why the U.S. ranks the biggest threat to world peace as a nation is because of stuff like this, and it's time to acknowledge it. Now, who else is a big threat? Russia. You can't deny that. Now, many people would say, oh, they're purely defensive in their actions against NATO and the West. Maybe, maybe not. I think that's a complex question. Putin is certainly not a rational character. There are political assassinations that happen in Russia. Ooh, look at that. The opposition guy just got killed. What an amazing coincidence. And it was just outside the Kremlin too, by the way. So you don't know, it doesn't mean Putin's not a good guy. A lot of people think, oh, he's a good guy, he's purely defensive. I don't know about that, and I don't think that's true. Yeah, it's weird and strange and questionable and bad that he just annexed Crimea. Some people argue, hey, it was purely to protect the people in Crimea because Ukraine was taken over by Western forces and they immediately passed laws that were against the people of Russian heritage. I don't want to get into all that. I don't want to get into all the details on that, but just know, yeah, the countries that destabilize the world the most, the United States, Saudi Arabia is probably tied with us because they spread Wahhabism throughout the world. I mean, they spread Salafi mosques, Wahhabi mosques, the most literal, ultra-conservative interpretation of Islam that's a scourge, it's a cancer upon this earth. They do that. They behead people for sorcery, apostasy, witchcraft, drug smuggling. So it's Saudi Arabia, the U.S., and probably Russia that are in the top tier. And then you drop down a tier, you probably get Israel, Iran, and a few others sprinkled in there. But yeah, I don't think the people who answered that poll are crazy. They have good reason to believe these things, and it's just that the propaganda that we get in this country about how all we care about is altruism and humanitarianism largely worked and makes people think, oh, when we invade places, it's because we're good people and because we care about everybody. That's not true. Everybody else sees through it. We apparently don't.